Once again, good afternoon. What a pleasant day this is today. I don't know how many prayed that it wouldn't rain, but thank you. Thank you so much. At this time, I would like to ask you to please rise for the posting of the colors on the American Legion Post 439 and Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 5694. Sergeant of the Color Guard. Present arms.
Come left, right, push. Color, post. You carry the post. Post colors. Present arms. Left and right, face. Forward, push. On right, push.
You may be seated. How about that Highland High School band, huh? Under the directorship of Chris Wilson. My name is Russ Reekie. I'm born here, raised here, Highland resident. Most of you know me. As I look around, I'm so grateful to see so many here. It is an honor and a privilege for me to be part of the new Veterans Honor Parkway and the new Render Memorial Park. I would never, in my wildest dream, as growing up, and if there's any of my high school teachers out there, thank you for pushing me out the door. All I can say is go Bulldogs, you guys are great. I'd like to introduce the people up here on the dais. To my right and your left is a young lady who very diligently, along with others within both organizations and the city of Highland, to create this day. And I'd like to introduce her as our service officer for the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Kate Broadhurst. Next to her is the commander of American Legion Post 439, Tony Heisler. our commander of the Highland VFW Post 5694, Paul Kusterman. And a guy that doesn't need any extra words is a chaplain. And he is the American Legion Post 49 chaplain, Paul Chapman. To my left and your right, a chief of police who's done a great job as far as I'm concerned in the city of Highland, Chief Terry Bell. I'm going to skip the next guy, and I'd like to introduce the speaker of the day, Mr. Joel Hawkins. You'll get your turn soon enough. Next to him is Judy Kuhn, who is a member of the Madison County and is District 1. District 1, Judy Kuhn. And next to her is our representative, Alan Dunstan. You know, they asked me to give a little speech. My speech was about 20 minutes. But after I read it several times and reread it several times, I kind of threw it away and decided to just to speak from the heart. This is Memorial Day. This is about those 21 guys, young men, who gave the ultimate sacrifice, and they were from the city of Highland. It is a moment of remembrance for all of those heroes. In 1996, a humanitarian organization based in Washington, D.C., known as No Greater Love, conducted a survey of children and asked them why do they think there's a holiday on Memorial Day. It was pretty agonizing at their answers. And here are some of their remarks. Some of them said it was all about barbecues, extended weekend parties, and celebrations, while I hadn't even the vaguest idea about the ultimate sacrifice and whose honor it is celebrated, but especially to those 21 men from Highland, from World War I to Iraq-Afghanistan wars that we honor today on this Veterans Honor Parkway. One of the children had even said, it was the day that the swimming pool's open. You know, they are right. No Greater Love organization came up with an idea at a national moment of silence. A national moment of remembrance to remind and especially let the future generations know about the real meaning of the holiday. The idea clicked into the President of the United States' mind and the Congress, and since 1997, it became a standard American tradition, National Moment of Remembrance. It requires everybody keep silent for 1 minute at exactly 3 p.m. Soon you will hear the taps. Soon you will hear the 21-gun salute. It will reflect the glory of those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice and have shed their blood for us. We as veterans hope to raise the public awareness about our heroes and their valor by introducing this moment. Memorial Day is a federal holiday in the United States for remembering the heroes who died while serving the country's armed forces. This holiday, which is observed every year on the last Monday of May, was formerly known as Decoration Day, originated after the American Civil War to commemorate the Union and the Confederate soldiers who died in the war. By the 20th century, Memorial Day had been extended to honor all Americans who died while in the military service. It typically marks the start of the summer vacation season, while Labor Day marks its end. Many people today will visit cemeteries and memorials, particularly to honor those who have died in the military service. Many volunteers place an American flag on each grave at our national cemeteries and cemeteries all around the world. Memorial Day is not a day to be confused with Veterans Day. Memorial Day is remembering the men and women who died while serving, while Veterans Day celebrates the serving of all U.S. military services and veterans. Words can never express the thanks and appreciation we owe to all the men and women who are now serving in the armed forces of the United States. Words can never express the suffering they went through or the sorrow of those lost loved ones who gave that ultimate sacrifice, the most prestigious gift that God had given to man, and that is life. These brave men and women did what they had to do without questions to give each one of us what we enjoy today, and that is freedom. As time passes by, I hope our youth will continue to remember, to honor, and to give tribute to all who served in the armed forces, but especially to those 21 from Highland who we honor today on this Veterans Honor Parkway, and to all who gave that ultimate sacrifice. You know, when I was in high school, I'm a Bulldog, proud of it. When we were in high school, I used to run around and play basketball with one of the guys on the flags that you see on the light posts, Richard Hoffman. We played a lot of basketball together. He was an all-star. He was great. Tall, not quite so agile, but you knew he was on the floor when he played because he gave it his all. And he was killed in action in September 19th of 1968, and I know that Richard gave it his all. And another guy, Junior Roniger, probably one of my best friends in high school. Yeah, we drank a lot of beer together, 16, and I'm sure I'm looking out here and I know a lot of other 16-year-olds that did. But Junior and I were in the service about the same time. We were both on our way back overseas. I went to Korea, he went back to Vietnam. But before he left, we both sat down and had a few beers together. And I believe it was Kenny Roslett was with me, and Dennis Schuster was with me. We had 5, 6 guys that ran around together. And we all saluted and said, we're going to be together when this is all said and done, and we're going to reunite. Well, Junior Roniger was killed in action February 20th, 1969. And I got permission from the United States government. I was already out of the service. At that time in 1968, I got out. He was killed in 69. But I got special permission from the United States government to ban my uniform and to help escort his body back. Sorry. That was an honor and a privilege. And to this day, I carry his casket flag in my truck. That's enough of that crying. And in closing, I just would like to have God bless America and God bless all of you. Thank you. I got it. You see, but I tell you, them chaplains, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Somebody's got to sit with them. Wait a minute. At this time, I'd like to call on the American Legion Post 439 chaplain, Phil Chapman, for the opening invocation. Please rise, if you will, if you can. Uncover.
A great honor to be with you today and invited to pray. Let's bow our heads in prayer. Almighty God, we bow our heads in prayer and thank you for the material and spiritual blessings you've lavished upon the United States of America. Today, as we gather to honor those who've given their last full measure of devotion to the families, community, and nation they loved, we remember freedom isn't free. You call each generation to fulfill their sacred duty to protect our God-given rights to freedom of worship, freedom of the press, the right to bear arms, and the right to peacefully petition the government in a redress of grievances. As we dedicate Highlands Memorial Parkway to our fallen heroes, may the words of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy prove prophetic. The price of freedom is high, and Americans have always paid it. Like an Army Pathfinder, the people's names enshrined upon this parkway led the way to freedom and made America a light unto the world. Heavenly Father, we pray this sacred place serve as a beacon in dark times and remind each traveler along life's road of service to God and country. Lord, as we celebrate and mourn the lives of the fallen, we humbly ask your merciful blessings upon those loved ones they left behind. Bring hope and a peace that passes all understanding to their family and to their comrades in arms. Help the wounded, those suffering mental anguish, and those who suffer problems of readjustment to civilian life with your holy presence. May the names inscribed in stone who sacrificed their lives for us on the altar of freedom never be forgotten and remain forever inscribed upon our hearts. This we pray in our Lord Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
At this time, it gives me an honor and privilege to introduce to you again Tony Heisler, Commander of the American Legion Post 439, for the welcome.
Thank you, Russ. It's my privilege and proud to be here as Commander of Post 439 of the American Legion. And thank the good Lord for the weather. We were so worked up about weather that now it turned out to be a beautiful day for this Memorial Day celebration. So all I say, welcome, and stick around afterwards, have fun. Thank you all.
This time, I'd like to introduce to you Chief Terry Bell. Terry Bell joined the department in 2009 after retiring from the Collinsville Police Department. He has been in law enforcement since 1987 and is a Marine Corps veteran. Chief Bell currently holds the position of Director of Public Safety, where he is in charge of the EMS, Fire, and Police Department. I wonder why. He is Southern Illinois Police see if I got that. Southern Illinois Police Institute, well, SIPCA, whatever that is. Past president and currently serves on the Madison County 911 Board and is a regional ILEAS advisory board. He has completed training at the FBI National Academy and is a graduate of the Southern Police Institute Administrative and Officers School at the University of Louisville. And I'd like to welcome Chief Terry Bell.
Thank you, Russ. I wish they would have just said I've hung around here for about 6 years and called it a day. Good afternoon. I'm honored to share this Memorial Day dedication event with all of you. On behalf of the men and women of the Highland Fire Department, Emergency Medical Services, and Police Department, I welcome you. We pay special tribute today to those fallen military heroes that gave the ultimate gift so that we may live in peace and freedom. We gather today in solemn reverence and remember their honored service and sacrifice. God bless the fallen. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Now, I guess you thought I forgot him, didn't you? Well, I didn't. This time I'd like to introduce to you a guy who has really given his all. He had an accident here a few months ago, and we never thought he'd be here. But he guaranteed he was going to be here. Mayor Joseph R. Michaelis is a graduate of, yes, please. That's not what we used to call him, but that's different. Mayor Joe Michaelis, a graduate of a Highland High School class of 1969. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree of secondary education from Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville in 1973. Joe coached the athletics at Highland High School for many years. He was a freshman football coach for 23 years and coached the varsity wrestling team, girls, for 15 years. He was hired by the Highland Police Department in December of 1974 and worked his way up through the ranks, retiring after 30 years as its chief of police. He was elected and assumed the office of mayor of the city of Highland in May of 2005 and has enjoyed serving the citizens in this capacity ever since. Ladies and gentlemen, please, another warm welcome from Mayor Joe Michaelis.
I didn't know I'd have two bodyguards with me up there.
You need them.
But I probably need them. Welcome, everybody. It's that time of the year again as we come and assemble to pay our respects, love, loyalty, appreciation to the veterans of this great country, past or present. Just a brief overview, an abbreviated form about Veterans Honor Parkway. This project started 10 years ago, and it was only befitting as we're finishing up the last quadrant, the northeast quadrant of this project, to name it Veterans Honor Parkway, in memory of all veterans who served this country, but with special emphasis, respect, and admiration for those veterans that paid the ultimate and gave their lives in the line of duty for our freedom and for us to enjoy the quality of life that we have. When we come every year together on Memorial Day, there's two entities that we need to appreciate and recognize year in and year out. And that's VFW Post 5694 and American Legion Post 439. If you're a member of the VFW Post 5694, please stand so that you can be duly recognized. And if you're already standing, wave your hands. If you're a member of American Legion Post 439, please stand so that we can recognize you. If you're a veteran of this great country and have served, whether it be domestic or foreign, please stand. And if you're already standing, wave your hands so that we can recognize you, all veterans. Today, we're truly here to honor our veterans. But there's also a lot of people that need to be recognized, organizations that help make this day possible. And as I go through these, I will ask that if I call your name or a firm that you're associated with, to please stand. The governor had been invited, but due to the fact that the Senate and the House are in session, neither he nor Kyle McCarter or Charlie Meyer will be able to attend today. Why they're meeting on Veterans Day, your guess is as good as mine. But they won't be with us today. But again, two friends that I've worked with closely in the 10 years since being mayor, and believe me, they are a true friend to the city of Highland, is Alan Dunstan, Madison County Board Chairman, and Judy Kuhn, our Madison County Board member. Thank you, Alan and Judy, for what you do for this community. Our city council members, please hold your applause till they're all standing. Peg Bellum. Hello. Rick Fry. Is Rick here? Neil Nicolaitis. And Aaron Schwartz. I didn't see Aaron. And keep standing, please. Is our city clerk, Barb Bellum, here? Denny Fainer is our city treasurer. Two people at City Hall that have just been so instrumental with all the help that they've done. And I'm not going to go through everything that they've done because it's too lengthy. But this event wouldn't be what it is without their help. And that's Lana Hediger and Lisa Peck. Lana and Lisa, are you around somewhere where you can be recognized? I know they were here, but I wanted to mention their names. Also, Mosaic Church. If you're associated with Mosaic Church, please wave at us. All right, thank you so much. And please give them their round of appreciation. Great organization in town, the Highland Moose Club. Any moose, stand up if you're here. They're doing our cooking out there. Thank you so much, Highland Moose. Cordy Meats. Anybody from Cordy Meats? Or they're probably all out there at their trailer.
Did they donate the meat?
Mark, did they donate it? No. But one thing that is being donated out there, any of the sandwiches or any of the soda is donated by the city of Highland. The beer, Neil Nicolaitis will pay for that. The Highland Community Chorus. I know they were over here. There they are over there. Thank you so much. Please welcome the Highland Community Chorus. Last but not least, one more round of appreciation for the great Highland High School band. Please stand.
Is Alan going to say anything?
Alan, did you want to say a couple of comments?
We'll knock you down. First off, it's great to see the mayor up and standing. Congratulations for being here today. I thought your remarks were great. I thought Phil's remarks were great. You know, it's great to be here for Memorial Day, and I want to thank you for being here today, because I know a lot of people have things going on, but what's more important to be here on Memorial Day? Freedom is not free. I think Phil Chapman said that. Freedom is not free. But we live, in my opinion, in the best country in the world. We can clap that. And we would not have this country today if it wasn't for the men that gave the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. I'm really happy to be here today, to join the mayor, let the mayor get by, and to be with Judy Kuhn, who's the county board member in this area. And once again, thank a vet today. Very important to thank a vet. Thank you.
It is right now straight up 3 o'clock. So I'd like to have a 1 minute of silence, please. Thank you so much for that. Hey, Judy, guess what I found? I found your bio. Judy Kuhn is a lifelong resident of Madison County. She grew up in Alhambra as Judy Knavel. She graduated from Highland High School, Gold Bulldogs, class of 1960, exit number. She and her husband, Butch, have been married for 46 years. They have 3 children and 5 grandchildren. Judy has been a child life volunteer at Children's Hospital in St. Louis for 24 years. She was elected to Madison County Board in 1998 and has served on grants, governor regulations, committee institutions, health and safety, and various other committees. At this time, Judy Kuhn.
Thank you, Russ. Well, the truth is, I didn't know I was even speaking, but I would just like to say I'm so happy. I went to school with Joe and Russ, and they're great guys. I'm so happy Joe is back. I'm so proud of Dennis Render. He's a great guy, and happy the park is named after him. I would also like to say that whenever I look at the flag, I envision these veterans, and I think of the old movies where you see the veterans in the background, and I just had a niece that graduated with high honors from SIU, and she was commissioned and is now in the 101st Airborne. Her brother's in the service, just came back from Afghanistan. And I don't know what I could say other than thank you. Russ brought tears to my eyes. I knew some of the guys he was talking about. And we are, like Alan, our chairman said, we are so lucky to live in this country. It really is, no matter what, the best country in the world. So thank all of you, and thank you for inviting me. And thank you guys so much, all you veterans.
Got you back, didn't I? Got you back, didn't I? Yeah. At this time, it gives me a great honor to introduce our guest speaker for the day. Joel is a teacher, math and history, and he's a coach at the Highland High School. He's done it for over 30 years. He has a wife, don't know what her name is, and 5 children. Well, it doesn't have nothing here. So. I know she's here because I saw her. Where are you at? Wave at me. And what's your name?
Her name is Lisa.
Lisa. There's Lisa. You're going to be sick when you get home, trust me. At this time, I'd like to bring up our guest speaker, Mr. Joel Hawkins.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot for that introduction. And it is Lisa, and she does good. Here, boys, you hang on to that. We come as a team, unfortunately for you. I got my team, my 2 bodyguards. The mayor said he had his 2 bodyguards. And I cannot resist this, I got to tell you. Since I've been around now coaching out at that high school, screaming at kids for 30 years. What a wonderful job, by the way, very therapeutic. And trust me, he helped me for a number of those. I don't know how many, 5 or 6 or whatever. And he would come and cry and moan and complain about his wrestlers. And I would say, "What's the matter, Joe? What's the matter with your wrestlers?" "They're from Highland." That was their problem. And I could never envision the mayor of Highland, the future mayor of Highland, saying something like that. But anyway, Joe has always loved Highland and the boys of Highland, and he's been an incredible guy to work with. Our purpose coming up here today is to encourage the remembrance of the 21 that are going to be monumented, and you see the banners up there. Aren't they cool? Did you guys see those? Those are really neat. You know, just to try to do them some honor today. It's very difficult to come up with the right things to say on an occasion like this. And I got my 2 helpers. Abe, I'm going to ask you about memorial. What does that even mean?
Memorial means memory of somebody who has died in the past.
Very good.
Okay, so that's pretty close. And this is, think about this. We went to Gettysburg 2 summers ago, didn't we? Okay, and we were crawling around in the rocks. Who's been to Gettysburg? Incredible little round top devil's den, a boy's heaven. And they were crawling around on those things. Well, there was a battle fought there about 150 years ago, and some 4 months after that battle, the president, of course, President Lincoln, stood amongst thousands of markers, fresh graves of boys that had died there. And he stood up and he gave that little 2.5-minute speech, and he said, "The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here." And today we're trying to get close to that, aren't we? It's not about what we say, it's about what they did. It's about the sacrifice that they've already made. If you could come up with some words, I think one of the words might be courage. Blaze, it's your turn. What do you think about courage?
I think courage means when somebody is brave and sometimes dies for somebody.
Courage. Let me tell you about courage, young man. I want you both to listen to this very carefully. I walked into my 8th grade math classroom, 3rd year here in Highland of Illinois. I stomped in there, and there was a boy in the back with this big smile. I said, never trust an 8th grade boy who always smiles. And he had this look on his face like he was going to run the classroom. Now, his name was Gary. His last name was Vasquez. And because he's a V, you know how creative teachers are, don't you? He sat in the back of the room. We always put him in alphabetical, don't you know? And we got in there, and during the course of the year, it was very common. I would say, get down here and do a problem. Gary, get down here. Put a problem on the board. Here he comes. Head first to that board. Chalk. You remember chalk, don't you? Who remembers chalk? Dust flying everywhere. Head first attacking the thing. That's what I remember about Gary. It's all this personality. It was so much. And it dominated. Well, from 8th grade, of course, he came out here to the high school. He graduated in 1992. Earned a degree from Illinois State. Didn't enter the Army until 8 years after his high school graduation. He began at the bottom. He could have been in officer's school since he had a degree, but he chose to go to basic. Worked his way up, got his Ranger tab, worked through the Special Forces training. In 2002, by 2004, he had earned a Green Beret. Okay? He wasn't afraid then yet, was he? Head first. Still personality. With the 7th Special Forces, deployed 3 times to Afghanistan. And on what we think was to be his last deployment in September of 2008, due to come home in January, his vehicle hit an IED, detonated, exploded. He and 2 were lost. But we lost him. It's one of our boys. Gary, 2008. Well, his existence was marked by courage. That word you used, courage. He didn't flinch about getting in the way. His sister spoke at the high school just 2 weeks ago. She said he was hilarious. That's what I got too. He had always had the final quip in the class. Hilarious. His brother, Barry, over here, told me that he was a father figure to him. He's 6 years younger than Gary. And he lost his best friend. You know, there's a hole that never goes away with these losses. Gary. Another picture encouraging another one of our boys, another one of our students, Aaron Ripperda. Aaron came through the high school. He graduated in 2005. And I found a teacher. I never had the opportunity to have Aaron. See, he must have been too smart for me. He must have had honors classes or something, but I never got him. And I talked to one of the teachers who did have him in madrigals. They had a little performance. And apparently Aaron wore a kilt, a Scottish. That takes courage right there, folks. In the performance. And apparently quite a ham bone, all kinds of sense of humor. And she said he was personality plus. Had that in common with old Gary. We lost him too, just a couple of years ago, just before he was to be discharged. In March, he was killed with 6 other Marines during a training exercise. Those boys didn't get out of the way. They stood in the face of danger. That's courage. You already heard Russ talk about 2 boys from Vietnam. You heard Richard Hoffman and his story. You heard about Junior Roniger and his story. I believe he was awarded Distinguished Service Cross. Right. Isn't that right? Courage. Not afraid to get in the way. Killed at age 22. They lost their lives at places called the Mekong Delta and Quang Nam. Where are these places? Those involved in Vietnam and Korea. I know you feel like you're the forgotten bunch. Boys, I'm going to tell you, don't ever forget those folks. They're as much a patriot as any of our other soldiers. So we lost those 2 boys from the Vietnam era. Courage. Let me tell you, millions of lives were lost in World War II. It didn't escape Highland either. We got stung. We're marking 16 who lost their lives during World War II. They lost their lives at places like North Africa, England, Italy, France, Germany, in the North Atlantic, in the South Pacific, Ellis Islands, the Philippines. These are some of the places where Highland boys were lost defending. World War II is an amazing era. How many World War II vets do we have in the crowd? Would you please raise your hand? I got to ride with Jerome Cordy's brother, Gene, who was telling me all about the Battle of the Bulge. I see you back there, young man. He was teaching me history, and that was a great lesson today. You World War II guys, thank you very much. What an incredible era. And the names that you will see out here: Eugene Seifert, Lee Vernheim, Bud Walter Maiden, a Normandy death, Robert Fisher, William Stucker, Elmer Bronnemeyer, Delmar Kuhn, William Metzger, Neil Rood, Herbert Fry. I was handed a big stack of stuff, by the way, speaking of Herbert, because I pulled right out on the top. This is a bunch of newspaper articles from back in the 40s, news leader articles. And this one shows a picture of Herbert Fry. Dear Mr. Spindler, hello and all the neighbors and friends in dear old Highland, Illinois. It's been a long time since we two had a chat. He wrote right there in the paper, or at least it got published that way in the paper. Herbert Fry, one of the casualties on the list from World War II. Delmar Schuster, Jerome Cordy, and Leo Cowell, William Barrett Jr., Paul Segrist, Pete Nidecker. Those are the World War II folks whose names will sit here in front of us. 4 of them were from one little block in Spindler, over there by Spindler Park. Amazing, they played together and they ended up dying together. It's an incredible era. And then we have one from the World War I era, Lee Eiton, of course, for who the American Legion post, I believe, is named. His family moved from Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken, and then he goes right back to Europe and loses his life in Benny Woods, France in 1918. Lee Eiton, there's 21 folks. Highland has ended up when it comes to courage and when it comes to standing up for her country. Aren't you proud of that? I don't know how to speak to the courage of those folks. I know that there's no eloquent enough to shower the proper honors on these heroes. Mr. Lincoln, in that same speech, said that, you know, their memory should cause us to take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. You know, those are words, I know they're words, but do you realize they were spoken by a man who felt grief? He felt loss. Let me tell you something. As a president of this country, he had lost a 3-year-old boy already. He'd lost an 11-year-old boy, his son. At the White House, doctors couldn't save him. One of his very favorite boys was a guy named Elmer that traveled from Springfield all the way to Washington, trained some soldiers and took them across the Potomac River because he knew the president had seen a Confederate flag on the Marshall House that he wanted down over there in Alexandria across the river. And he went to take it down. In the first month of the war, this happens. He takes it down, cuts it down, comes down the steps, and gets blown away by a shotgun blast and killed. News travels across the president. The visitors that were visiting President Lincoln at that moment said that he wept when he heard the news because he loved that boy. And he wept openly because that was one of his boys. He then took up a pen and he wrote a letter to the parents to assuage their grief, the first of hundreds and maybe. And you see, the rights of faith. The right to have faith in God and the right to believe in a creator that wants to get personal with you and me, and the right to assemble about that, and the right to speak out about that, and the right not to believe that, and to believe in a totally different system is ensured because of the courage of these. You see, Blaze, you had a dream?
My dream was to become a Major League Baseball player.
know, we've got one from our community that's done it. Isn't that awesome? But at the same time, you need to know, nobody will let them talk you out of that dream. You chase that dream. You understand? As long as you can chase it, you chase it. Whatever vocation you want to choose, you can. Chasing dreams, choosing vocations is because of the sacrifice of these boys. Okay? What else did you have to say?
Daddy, don't forget the veterans who are serving and have served.
Yes, and we already gave a big hand to the veterans who have served. Bless you guys for doing that. And for the veterans that are serving, our earnest prayers for their safety go out. Go ahead.
Three things I hold dear. One, my family. Two, my country, which is the United States of America. And three is my community, which is Highland, Illinois.
I hope you always hold those things dear. We are so blessed in all those areas. Now, Abe, understand that those things you hold dear, those things are because of what these boys, these folks gave up. These markers and banners are going to reminders to us. Do you see the banners? And we're going to see the markers. Now listen, I want you to listen to this very carefully. Okay? Learn their stories. Be motivated by those stories to be the best in life you can be. Take courage from their courage. Always remember their cause. And never forget the enormous price tag that attends this incredible purchase called freedom. We have so much to live for because of what these folks were willing to die for. God help us live up to that challenge. Thank you.
Lisa, thank you for having these two wonderful children. Congratulations. At this time, we will have the roll call of all the comrades who have died since the last Memorial Day. And to do that, I call upon Kate Broadhurst.
I think it's kind of unfair that I got to follow somebody like Joel. First off, yes, I have to thank Phil Chapman because he's the one that helped get all these names together, and going to all the local funeral homes and everything else sometimes is a pretty good task. These are all the people, and I will try to name their date, where they are interned, and what branch of service they were. John David Schneider passed away May 26, 2014. He's buried in Highland City Cemetery. He's with the U.S. Army. Art Dale Capel, June 15, 2014, St. John the Baptist Cemetery in Troy. He's with the U.S. Army in Korea. Alois J. Al Lingerman, June 17, 2014, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery. He's with the U.S. Army. Louis H. Munkin, June 18, 2014, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Highland, and he was with the U.S. Army. Eugene A. Gutensberger, June 20th, 2014, Trenton Cemetery. He was with the United States Navy. Bernal L. Barney Hartlib, June 29th, 2014, Highland City Cemetery. He was with the U.S. Army. Clifford Joseph Grunenfelder, July 2nd, 2014, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Highland, and he was with the U.S. Army during World War II. Lawrence H. Slim Pullman, July 6, 2014, St. George Catholic Cemetery, New Baden, and he was with the U.S. Army. Edwin J. Ed Kelly, July 7, 2014, he was with the U.S. Navy Reserves. John Anthony Wellen, July 17, 2014, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Highland, he was in the U.S. Army in Korea. Raymond R. Rauscher, July 17, 2014, he's in the Highland City Cemetery, he was with the U.S. Army. Joseph Earl Campbell, July 18, 2014, Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery in St. Louis. He was a U.S. Army chaplain in Korea. Richard Lee Satterley, July 21, 2014, U.S. Army, Korea. Andrew F. Bud Marcus, July 24, 2014, St. Francis Cemetery in Aviston. He was with the U.S. Air Force. Wayne E. Lanham, July 28, 2014, in Coulterville Cemetery. He was with the U.S. Army. Holly M. Williman, August 21, 2014, St. Lawrence Cemetery in Greenville, and was with the U.S. Army in Korea. Gary L. Rudy Roots, August 14, 2014, Highland City Cemetery, was with the U.S. Army. William P. Knoll, August 21st, 2014, Emmanuel United Church of Christ Cemetery in Hamel, was with the U.S. Navy during World War II. Glenn A. Knoltner, August 23rd, 2014, was with the U.S. Army. Vernon F. Marty, August 24th, 2014, he was with the U.S. Air Force and his body was donated to science. Gerald Leon McGrew, August 28, 2014, Memorial Gardens in Florida, he was with the U.S. Army. John E. Kreider III, September 8, 2014, is with the U.S. Air Force. Harold H. Prim, September 14, 2014, Robinson Cemetery in Pocahontas, was with the U.S. Army. James Oliver Stever, September 15, 2014, Mount Auburn Cemetery, United States Army Reserves. Donald Lester Merkel, September 20th, 2014, Salem City Cemetery in Alhambra, was with the U.S. Army Vietnam Recon pilot and was awarded the Bronze Star. Eldon Ambule, September 22nd, 2014, Grant Fork United Church of Christ Cemetery, was with the U.S. Navy. James F. Jim Garrison Jr., September 27, 2014, Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery in St. Louis, was with the U.S. Army during Vietnam. Thomas A. Brown Jr., October 1st, 2014, Robinson Cemetery, Pocahontas, U.S. Navy, World War II. Jerry R. Ward, U.S. Air Force, Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery in St. Louis. John Christopher Cahoon, October 9th, 2014, Sunnyside Cemetery, Sorrento, and was with the U.S. Air Force. Lawrence F. Pullman, October 17th, 2014, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Highland, was with the U.S. Army during World War II. He fought in Normandy, northern France, and the Ardennes and Rhineland. Robert E. Ruger, October 18th, 2014, is in the Highland City Cemetery, was with the U.S. Army. Commander Larry William Chassels, October 19th, 2014, Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery, U.S. Navy during Vietnam. Joseph G. Butch Geiger Jr., October 24th, 2014, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Highland, U.S. Army. Darrell L. Munkin, October 24th, 2014, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Highland, was with the U.S. Army. Toby A. Surrey, September 3rd, 2014, Salem City Cemetery in Alhambra, U.S. Marine Corps. Eugene Popeye Kovac, November 4th, 2014, U.S. Army, World War II occupation of force of Japan. Jerome Alphonse Schlaper, November 12th, 2014, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Highland, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Clifford O. Turnow, October 24th, 2014, Bernald Cemetery, U.S. Army, Korea. Julian E. Armbruster, November 30th, 2014, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Highland, U.S. Army 34th Artillery Division. Jerry Mason, November 30th, 2014, U.S. Army Paratrooper 82nd Airborne Division. Chief Master Sergeant Arvid E. Nelson, December 4th, 2014, United States Air Force, Korea and Vietnam. Master Sergeant Lester A. Brazilian, Jr., December 5th, 2014, Valley View Cemetery, U.S. Army. Marion Grit Tesoros, December 6, 2014, Spangle Cemetery near Livingston, a charter member of the 82nd Airborne, jumped on D-Day landing in St. Mir Eglise, wounded 3 times, and also fought at the Battle of the Bulge and then marched into Berlin. Pretty impressive. Talk about courage. Donald Lewis Andruska, December 12, 2014, Marine Cemetery, United States Army, or United States Navy, Korea. Clarence Leroy Slim Laichu, December 16, 2014, U.S. Navy, Korea. Carmen D. Thames, December 17, 2014, Highland City Cemetery, U.S. Air Force. Arnold F. Weir, December 20th, 2014, York Village Cemetery in York, Maine. Braid D. Brady Decker, December 21st, 2014, Jefferson National Cemetery in St. Louis, Missouri, U.S. Army. James F. Harlan, December 22nd, 2014, Pleasant Hill Cemetery in Steelville, Missouri. He was a U.S. Navy tail gunner in World War II. James D. Hediger, December 22nd, 2014, Fairlawn Cemetery, Vandalia. He was with the U.S. Army. Udell H. Meyer, December 26th, 2014, St. Paul Lutheran Cemetery in Hamel. He was with the U.S. Army in Korea. Thomas H. Tom Werner, December 31st, 2014, U.S. Navy. Harry Kreutzberg, January 2nd, 2015, Marine Cemetery, U.S. Army, Korea. Harold Earl Honig, January 5th, 2015, Augustus Cemetery in St. Jacob, U.S. Army. Edward E. Reeker, January 7th, 2015, Highland City Cemetery, United States Army, World War II, earned the Silver Star in the Battle of Monte Cassino. Arthur J. Flays, January 7th, 2015, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Highland, U.S. Navy, World War II, Pacific. Paul N. Huber, January 13th, 2015, United States Marine Corps. Donald J. Voss, January 14th, 2015, Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery in St. Louis, Missouri, was with the U.S. Army. Donald Paul Schwarte, January 15th, 2015, 3rd Infantry Division of the U.S. Army, Korea, and was awarded the Korean Service Medal with 3 Bronze Stars and the United Nations Service Medal. Lorraine E. Knabel, January 17th, 2015, Keystone Cemetery in St. Jacob. George Henry Grinstaff Sr., January 20th, 2015, New Douglas City Cemetery, U.S. Army, Korea. Ralph W. Kulingle, January 31st, 2015, U.S. Navy Evangelical Lutheran Cemetery in Stalltown, Illinois, World War II, Pacific. Richard D. Dieselhorst Sr., January 31st, 2015, Salem Cemetery in Alhambra, was with the U.S. Air Force. Timothy S. Tim Bergfield, January 30th, 2015, Florida National Cemetery in Bushnell, U.S. Army, Florida. William D. Willie Harris, February 6, 2015, Salem City Cemetery in Alhambra, U.S. Navy, World War II. Mildred Millie Wenicky Hecht, February 8, 2015, Women's Auxiliary Army Corps. Mansard Major Harold Louise Edward Blaze, February 13th, 2015, U.S. Army, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. William H. Holthouse, February 15th, 2015, St. Dominic, St. Augustine Cemetery in Breeze, was with the U.S. Army. Dr. James Edward Bauman, February 17th, 2015, Edgar Cemetery, U.S. Army, served as a mobile Army surgical hospital unit, a MASH unit, in post-World War II occupied Japan. Earl H. Sherman, February 19th, 2015, New Douglas Cemetery, U.S. Air Force, served multiple deployments in Vietnam as an air rescue and recovery as a flight engineer for a C-130. Kenneth Henry Jones, February 22nd, 2015, Spangle Cemetery near Livingston, U.S. Army, World War II, and has the Silver Star. Richard P. Rusick, February 24th, 2015, was with the U.S. Navy. Wilbert Will Mersinger, March 1st, 2015, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Highland, was with the U.S. Army. Paul C. Powers, March 1st, 2015, Lakeview Memorial Gardens in Fairview Heights, U.S. Army, World War II, and was present at Pearl Harbor. Carol Wayne Hessenauer, March 3rd, 2015, Mount Auburn Cemetery, U.S. Navy, received the Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal. Chris Sonny Schwartz, March 5th, 2015, St. Gertrude Catholic Church in Grand Fork, was in the United States Army Reserve. Nick E. Gregory, March 5th, 2015, Robinson Cemetery, Pocahontas, was with the U.S. Navy. Donald Howard Goodall, March 6, 2015, was with the U.S. Army. George Calvin Demas, March 6, 2015, was with the U.S. Army in Korea. Roger A. Feaster, Sr., March 7th, 2015, Highland City Cemetery, U.S. Navy, Seabees. Andrew Andy Anderson, March 10th, 2015, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Highland, was with the United States Air Force. Alan M. Signer, March 13th, 2015, was with the U.S. Navy. First Sergeant Kenneth R. Knickerbocker. March 13th, 2015, Georgia National Cemetery, was with the U.S. Army. Larry K. Lappy, April 2nd, 2015. Milton C. Heim, April 8th, 2015, was with the U.S. Air Force. Gerald E. Jerry Clayton, Jr., April 18th, 2015, U.S. Army. Richard H. Cook, Rich, April 26, 2015, Jesse Cemetery in Jesse, West Virginia, was with the U.S. Army. Roger A. Young, May 2nd, 2015, Highland City Cemetery, U.S. Air Force. Daniel Stallings, May 15th, 2015, St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery, Highland, was in the U.S. Marines. Easton Hornbuckle, May 19th, 2015, Jefferson Barracks Cemetery, was with the U.S. Army. Gary Lee Mangum, May 19th, 2015, St. Paul Lutheran Cemetery in Hamel, U.S. Air Force. While this is a very long list, we hope we have not left anybody out, and if we did, it was not by any means of anything, and if we have, if you come up, and we'll gladly add them to our list. But we like to say that these people will be sorely missed. And last year, I got to announce that one of the Pearl Harbor survivors that passed away was buried in the Green Cemetery on the other side of Millersburg. I don't know where Ed and Sylvia Harvey are. Over here to my left. I had the honor to go out to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii with their family and take Dallas's ashes out off the pier of the USS Utah and drop them in Pearl Harbor, where Dallas wished that part of his remains got to be taken and go back to where he fought so bravely on December 7th, 1941. And Ed and Sylvia, that will be one moment I will never forget in my whole life. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. At this time, I'd like to have the closing remarks by the VFW Post Commander, Paul Kusterman. Since he's done.
I would like to thank everybody who came out. It's been a beautiful day, and we need to remember our fallen heroes and our live heroes, because they all did a good job when they're in the service. They fought hard, and some died bravely, but we all fought hard. And thank you for all you who's coming.
This is not the end of the ceremony, so please do not leave. At this time, I'd like to call on our chaplain, Phil Chapman, for the benediction. If you all please rise, uncover.
Let us pray. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his countenance to shine upon you and give you peace. May the Lord always provide his providential care to the United States of America. Amen.
At this time, I'd like to ask that the Ripidaw family, the Vasquez family, Hoffman family, and Roniger family please head towards the simulated cemetery on top of the grassy knoll.
anytime there's an undertaking with a project as immense as this one was, there's usually a number of people involved to make it as successful as it is. And a number of people need to be recognized for the immense contribution that they've done to make this a reality. I'm going to introduce in a second a man by the name of Dennis Render, who was so instrumental to this project that I actually don't think the Northeast Quadrant here would have been done without his innate ability and communication skills and the integrity and the respect that he has when it comes to dealing with people. And that's how you get a park named after you. In just a second, I'm going to ask Dennis and his wife, and if you would, please come around up here to the stage. I think Dennis has a couple of remarks that he'd like to share with you. Anybody that knows Dennis knows exactly what I'm talking about as far as the skills that this man has about being a true friend to this community for a lot of years. Please welcome Dennis Render.
Thank you, Joe. And I want to thank everyone for coming out today. This is very special to me and also to my family, to my 3 kids, my wife, all my grandchildren, and little great-granddaughter, and also to my 2 brothers, Dale and Larry. But this here was quite a deal for me. Joe and Mark Latham came to me one day when I was working at Bradford National Bank, and they asked if I would be interested in working for the city, trying to acquire this property for the Northeast Quadrant. I thought for a few minutes, and I said, yeah, I'd like to take that on. I said, I'm getting tired of fighting all the traffic on St. Rose Road every morning going to work. I couldn't even get out of my road without sitting there for about 15 minutes. And then I wish I had a tank once in a while because they'd never slow down for me. But it was worth it, and I talked to them. We met, and I got going on the job, and it didn't take me too long. About a year and a half later, I had all of it acquired. And everybody said, how did you do that? Well, I know all these farmers and folks that I had to buy this from, and you got to treat people right. And I done that, and they just fell in line just like domino, one right after another. The one that I really enjoyed working on, and that was the Kleiner family. They were out in California and Pennsylvania. Had to make a lot of telephone calls, but we finally got it done. And one day in August, they came to Highland. They always have a family reunion. And they said, Dennis, we want to meet you. We've been talking for a long time by telephone, but we'd like to meet you. So we met out at Michael's. They were in the coffee shop, and we had some drinks, soda that was, none of this other stuff. But we got it done. And they said, I really like doing business with you. You had everything laid out for us, and you knew what you was talking about, and that's the kind of a person we wanted to work with. And I said, the same goes for you, because you were honest, and that's the way I wanted to be. And that's what became of this property. And when we had the groundbreaking, lo and behold, It was so doggone dry when we was out there. We couldn't even get the shovel in the ground, could we? So we picked up a little bit of dust and threw it out there. And Joe said, he thanked me for getting all this ground for this wonderful Veterans Honor Parkway. And he said, and now, Dennis, what I'm going to do is we're going to build a park and name it after you. I was so surprised. Excuse me. I couldn't believe this was happening to me. But here we are today on a beautiful sunny afternoon having this great ceremony in honor of all our military people. So thank you, Joe, Mark, and all of the council members, and our city mayor or attorney for helping me out, and also for Lana. I was coming in there to the city office and asking her questions, and she was printing this off and that off for me, but we finally got it done. And I sure do appreciate this, Joe, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
I'm kind of interested in knowing how big the Rinder family is. If you're related to Dennis, please stand up. Look at that. It's half the crowd. Thank you, Dennis, so much. When it comes to a project like this, you better have a quality engineering and architectural firm working for you. And through the years, the City of Highland has enjoyed working with Oates Associates Incorporated. If you're a member of Oates Associates Incorporated, please stand up and be recognized. Two members of that firm that I'd specifically like to recognize. Steve, if you'd stand up. Steve designed Veterans Honor Parkway. Barb Anderson, please stand up. She designed Dennis Rinder Park and Veterans Tribute. The banners, the kiosks that you see is what Barb designed. Thank you so much, Barb. Mark Latham and I came on board at approximately at the same time, and we've had a number of opportunities to work with construction companies, some good, some not so good. But in this project, Keller Construction was awarded the bid, and I'm sure glad they were, because you talk about a professional group to work with and a fine owner of Keller Construction. That's Dale Keller. Dale, please stand up and be recognized. When you look out across this boulevard and the overpass, that's just real skill, professionalism to be able to do a project the way in which this has been done. When you do a project like this, it requires a lot of city attorney work, dealing with the Illinois Commerce Commission, dealing with the Illinois Department of Transportation, make sure everything is legal. And one of our city attorneys is here, Terry Bruckert. Would you please stand and be recognized? As I said, Mark Latham and I have spent 10 years together here, and it's been a real joy working with Mark Latham. I can't begin to tell you how instrumental he is in the development of Veterans Honor Parkway. He is very, very skilled in the business sense, and he has done so much. I couldn't even begin to list all his attributes to be a part of developing this. I don't think in my lifetime that you'll ever see a better city manager than Mark Latham. He has been a blessing for us ever since the day he came. Mark Latham, would you please stand and be recognized? Our Director of Parks, Joe Gillespie, please stand up. Be recognized. Clint Conrad, Resident Engineer. And the City of Highland Electric Department. I know Dan Cook, our Chief Boss, that department is here. Dan, stand up.
Thank you.